You're tuned to Off the Ball, the most petty and ill-informed sports programme on radio. I heard a rumour. Football on stage. Your teenage talent and the hat-trick you won't forget. I'm Ray Bradshaw, she's Susie McCabe, and you're tuned to the odd couple of Scottish football. Yes, hello and welcome to today's edition of Off the Ball. I'm Ray Bradshaw, she's Susie McCabe, standing in for Stuart and Tamara on a little break. They're going to be back for the live show on the 10th of August. Susie, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm alright. Are you enjoying Celtic's rumours of signings and actually having a goalie for a change?
I love it. I still can't believe Robbie Keane's not been mentioned yet. Just for a wee bit of retro loving.
Because we might as well just get straight on to our first topic. I heard a rumour because Celtic have been linked with so many different people. Who's the kind of perennial Celtic rumour that you're going to sign someone? Is it Robbie Keane or is there someone else?
Oh, there was always Robbie Keane and Roy Keane, which, to be fair, we did sign them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We did sign them.
When you do sign them, is it a disappointment you won't hear that rumour again?
No, it's a disappointment that you have signed them because you've went, the boys are done.
Did you see the other day the overlap with Roy Keane was talking about he turned down Real Madrid to go to Celtic?
Yeah.
And then you saw him against Clyde. You're like, mate, you couldn't have even get to B team.
Mate, honestly, stop it. You wouldn't even have been a ball boy at Real Madrid. Behave yourself. But you know, see the thing with Keane, like, to be fair, it's always that Clyde game, but I remember Celtic going to Ibrox and Keane absolutely just ran the show and he barely broke sweat. Just that kind of classy player. You know, like when you watch like Maldini and Nesta and they didn't really run anywhere. They just stood and cleared the ball because they could just read the game like that. But yeah, that was it. But Celtic are always touted with, I mean, sometimes you just look at the money. I remember, and this is going back, pure full-blown Celtic maw here, Celtic being linked with Mike Galloway, and it was £400,000 to Hearts, and we were going, we're never paying 400,000. Meanwhile, Rangers are paying like 2.5 million and 4 million at the time for players. So.
But that then happened with John McGinn. That then happened to a lot of other players along the way.
I still can't talk about the John McGinn thing. Honestly, it is the most infuriating thing.
Do you know what's dead funny? It just shows the difference in the teams we support, because when you're talking about a player that read the game so well, I was like, yeah, we had that in Stephen Craigan, which is not the same at all, is
but
it? Let's be
also
honest.
A lovely man.
Yeah, I saw him the other day. Yeah,
a
good
gentleman.
Guy. He was great. He was the only player I ever saw get told off by the ref for when you're going to take a long throw, instead of drying the ball up his shirt, he would do it up his shorts because his shorts were so baggy, and it was just a lovely image. Well, we might as well get into the first topic, right? So today on Off the Ball, we're going to be joined. We've got three guests in. We've got Paul Beeson and Bruce Strachan. We're going to be talking about why they're joining us, and we've got the brilliant stand-up comedian Liam Farrelly, who'll be joining us in a little bit. But the first topic doesn't really relate to them directly. We're going to be talking about rumours. So this comes off the back of yesterday. Obviously the golf's on. Are you a golf fan?
No, do I look like I enjoy walking?
No, you look like you might enjoy the clubhouse. Is the vibe you give,
that's
Susie.
it. No. I mean, I like a polo shirt. I do like a polo shirt.
Yeah, you're Fred Perry loyal.
Easy.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy a polo shirt, but not all that swinging sticks nonsense. Who's got time for that? Unless it's a fight. No.
I quite like it when it's a Ryder Cup and that's it, really, or the last day of the golf when you can see who's going to win. So
when you can put a bet on it. When you're down to like the last four players and you're like, right, let's open up the coupon here.
Even like I was surprised yesterday that Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy didn't make the cut. So it's the Royal Open, and the big rumour yesterday was, and this is amazing, and it just shows the difference in social media, because what would have happened before is this would have been three people in a pub talking about it and it wouldn't have gone any further. But because of social media, there was a big rumour yesterday that Harry Styles was in a pub in Troon.
I love this.
And that place got absolutely mobbed. Like everyone was going there. So we're wanting to know rumours. Have you ever fallen foul of rumour? Ever thought you were going to go see someone and something happened that way, Susie?
Do you know what I actually love? I actually love the idea of a wee old guy sitting in a pub in Troon just reading his paper, right, with his roll-up tin sat next to him, and he's got all these pre-rolled cigarettes, half and half, sitting with a half and half, and then he goes outside and he comes back in and there's just a wash with teenage girls in there, and he's like, I'm just trying to watch the racing.
I kind of had similar to this. So I did a tour show in Southend and I turned up and there was like 216-year-old girls outside, and I was like, that's not my audience like at all. And then they went, oh yeah, sorry, you're in the small room, a Harry Styles tribute act's in the big room. And I literally turned the corner, it was just old 60-year-old people like coming to the gig. I was like, yeah, that's my audience.
That's it.
The best rumour I've seen, without football one for Thistle, we were constantly linked with Owen Coyle. Like all the time.
So was Celtic, like
was,
back in the, was this as a manager or a player?
No, player.
So was kind of Celtic back in the
He
day
was
as well.
walking up Mayhill Road, he was in Jack and Ellie's, getting a chippy, getting ice cream, that was all his rumour. Because I don't know if you know this about Owen Coyle is, Owen Coyle's superstition was he would have a chippy a Friday night before a game.
Fair.
That was always thing, an elite level athlete, international, all this kind of stuff. But the best rumour I've seen was I went to uni in Liverpool, and I was back visiting some mates who live still where we lived, and one of them was like, Paul McCartney's playing a gig in that pub today. And we were like, no, he's not. Like, why would Paul McCartney, like one of the biggest superstars in the world, be playing in Liverpool? He wasn't.
One of the greatest songwriters of all time.
He's not going to be playing the Philharmonic pub. If you ever did Hot Water Comedy Club, do you know?
I know exactly
so
where
the
it
film's
is.
in the corner.
Yep.
And he's like, he's not going to be doing that. The next day, look online. It turns out Paul McCartney had played a gig to 40 people in that pub, but we were all glad we didn't get it because do you know who was hosting it? James Corden. And we were like, yeah, we dodged the bullet there. We were okay.
Wow, that's
So-
incredible. I done a corporate in, was it Chester maybe? And it was the Manufacturing Awards, and one of the...
This is what comedy's like. You think you do really well and then you end up doing the manufacturing awards and stuff like that, innit?
Showbiz, baby. Hold on to your hat. Listen, park the Vegas tickets. I'm in Chester for the Manufacturing Awards.
I did the International Wire and Machinery Awards in Chester before.
See, to be fair, I would have enjoyed that.
yeah, that's
I'd
up
have
your
been like,
street. Yeah,
show me the
yeah.
machines.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that had won an award was a former cabinet minister in John Major's government. He was a former transport secretary, right? I was like, we're not going to get on. And then he was telling me that when he was an MP, McCartney phoned him because they went to the same school and they knew each other and went, I am trying to convert our old school, which has been shut down, into LIPA, the Institute of Performing Arts, where you
that's where I went. Yeah.
And look at you now, mate. Pacific Key. Look at you now.
Who would have thought?
Showbiz.
Yeah.
And he done that, and they managed to get it together and make LIPA. And I was like, former transport secretary in Paul McCartney bribe scandal.
It must just be amazing being that famous, just being able to phone people and go, listen, I want to do this. It'd be good.
Listen, I went to school with Michelle. I'll phone Michelle and go, hey, how you doing?
Michelle McManus?
Aye.
Not Michelle Visage. That was the only other Michelle I could think of.
Oh no, she's way older than me, mate.
And how often do you call her a favour from Michelle McManus?
Never.
Never.
About once in my life, right? But I do love her to bits.
Yeah.
But imagine Michelle Visage going to school in Coatbridge.
It's absolutely Scottish Illuminati, isn't it? When you see all those kind of people that go to the same school. Holyrood and Glasgow seem to have half of the famous people in Scotland at one point.
Me and Ray were both at the Euros, and we were out there and we both met on a kind of night out, and that genuinely was the Scottish Illuminati. On that
was,
night out,
yeah.
wasn't
I've
it?
spoken about that gig on this show before. So Travis played. At one point, I was like, "Oh, I know that guy. I'll go speak to him." I was like, "No, I don't know that. And that's David Coulthard." Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was everywhere you looked, there was someone famous. It was mental.
It was the most
Sir
ridiculous
Alex?
thing. Yep, Sir Alex was sat at the next table to me, and then at the table from that was Tom Hunter, and then at my table was Willie Hockey, and I was with Martin and Gordon, and then I turned round and Amy McDonald, and I was like, this is full blown Scottish Illuminati. I'm out. I need to leave. I can't be near these people.
My mate came up to me. He was like, "You're such a waste of a ticket." And I was like, "Why?" And he went, "Look at all these celebrities here you could be talking to, and you've just spoke to Ricky Foster about Partick Thistle for the last 20 minutes." And I was like, "Of course I do, man. That's way more exciting for me than chatting to all the bigwigs."
I really wanted to talk to him about his choice of fashion and sports scene.
Oh, if you want to talk about choice of fashion sports, you can sit them all down. Like talk about those
Tomo.
400 quid shoes and go that way. So football rumours, it could be anything. We want to know your favourite rumour. It could be a player you're constantly linked with. It could be, what was he called? Stuart Baxter, the manager who was linked with literally every job that was going for a long time that never happened. It could be a player you were going to sign. It could be, also, you were at Transmit, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Did you feel old?
You've not seen my new show, have you?
No.
I do a whole bit about going to it for the first time last year, going to a music festival for the first time in 22 years last year, and how I instantly realised that music festivals were no longer for me.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that when I see the audience, and I think it was not.
You were going to say you were considerably younger than me.
Yeah,
then,
it was.
weren't you?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
going to punch you
Yeah,
in the face.
sorry, I would say a decade's a lot, but what was the thing I was going to say to you? Did you go see The Secret Show?
Oh no, I missed it. And a mutual friend of ours, Roscoe, messaged me, but because the signal was jammed, because obviously it's full of kids on Instagram, isn't it, and TikTok
and Snapchat
and Snap. Aye, yeah. What even is that?
Because this is the thing. So every year there's secret gigs. There's always a rumour at Glastonbury it's going to be this person, can be this person. They always put secret names. But this year it was Travis, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which would have been great. So let us know your favourite rumour. And also, because it is still the transfer window, there'll be players you're linked with signing. Thistle, my club, we're trying to sign a right back. So we've been linked with I can't remember his first name, but Megwa, who was at Airdrie on loan last season from Hibs. He came on for Hibs the other night. We've been linked with him for about 8 weeks, and it's getting to the point now where he's playing for Hibs.
Mate,
if they don't sign someone, we're not going to sign someone.
Let me introduce you to Adamida.
Yes. I saw there was a big thing this week about there was a private jet coming up from Norwich to Glasgow, and they're like, we're going to sign it, and then they realised it's just a rich guy coming up for the Open, and he was playing for Norwich during the week and things like that.
Yep, all of that, and it's like,
do you want him at Celtic?
Yeah. He's a good player. He's a good striker. He's quite like.
Is he £5 million good?
Aye.
Is he?
Aye. He's got great kind of feet, good strength, and he's got pace, which is quite unusual for a guy of his stature. He's a big lad, he's a big nuisance. Yeah, I would 100% take him. Like, I don't think he would be like a 4 or 5 year, I'm going to see out my contract here. I think he would just move on to the next club. But
and get money for him.
Aye,
is it like
totally,
profit kind of thing? On Son Edward, kind of Dembele kind of one?
Aye, but that would involve them opening up their wallets in the boardroom.
But you saw that with what's he called, Joe Hart, saying he was going to retire about 4 months ago, and eventually they signed the 37-year-old Kasper Schmeichel on a 1-year deal and Viljamai Sinasola on a 5-year deal, which seemed to come out of nowhere. But the long-term planning doesn't seem to be a thing at Celtic, does it?
So I think infrastructure-wise and club-wise, they do make improvements to the stadium. They've obviously got the Barrafield. They've upgraded a lot of Lennoxtown. So I think like that they do. The share price is through the roof.
Do you think they're just saving money just in case they need to do any work to their stadium? Because we've seen that can go badly for other teams.
No, because when that stadium was built, you couldn't use asbestos in a building site, right? And you can still actually get steel in this country if you choose to just pay for it more.
What's happening with that? Because you worked in the construction industry for years.
So, I mean, there's a lot of rumours going about that Rangers decided to project manage it themselves, and I'm like, please tell me no. Please tell me you've not got a guy in that boardroom who's like, listen, I used to be a project manager for an accountancy firm. Give me the construction site. So surely not.
But that must happen in the construction industry all the time. You get superseded for other people.
Yeah, but you don't. It would be somebody that knows what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got like a project engineer, you might be a junior project engineer on a big site, so you're there 5 days a week, 9 to 5, whatever. And the senior project manager might be there 3 days a week, or he might be there 5 days a week, but like 2 hours a day, just coming in, going to meetings, doing whatever, and then leaving. So yeah, that does happen, but I just think for a type of contract like that would be, because you've got a very definite window to do it. It's like refurbing a school during the holidays. You only have between that date and it must be complete. There's always like really heavy penalty clauses if you don't meet those dates. So I'm like, surely you would have put that in the contract, and surely all of that would have been done, and there would have been a programme, and like this contract award should have been like late February, March, to give you like a 2-month run-in to order materials to make sure they're there, because you're always going to use those materials. So even if those materials arrive and it's the last game of the season, you've got the materials, right? It's not like you go, listen, we'll need to wait till we've played that last game till we get the steel here, right? It's a bit... So I'm just
imagine just getting a dressing room, there's just steel everywhere and all that.
Steel.
But it's the whole thing that's fascinating.
Thing's mental.
About going to share Hampden, and also the fixtures. So I think it's, if I'm right, correct me if I'm wrong on this, it's Hearts away for Rangers, and then they were going to play their 2 home games. It's Ross County and someone else, can't remember, and then it's Celtic away. So they'll play 4 games away, and then they get the European ties. It's going to massively backfire on them. We'll chat to our guests when they come in a bit more about that.
Can I just say though, do you know who suffers most out of that? Is that the actual fans.
Yeah.
Right, it's the actual Rangers fans. Now, obviously, I remember going to Hampden for a season and Celtic Park getting refurbed. I remember walking in.
So that was the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah. So was it 93, 94? Yeah, 93, 94. And I remember walking, like you could just walk into building sites back then. Guys wore trainers and they were topless with a pair of jeans and an iron brew bottle hanging out their back pocket. And I remember all of that happening. But you knew it was going to happen because it had to happen for the stadium to be redeveloped. This is for 600 seats.
Is that all it's for?
It's for 600. It's not like Rangers have managed to put a third tier on a stand before, and now you're going, and you can't fit 600 seats. So it's the fans that suffer, and regardless of, like, obviously you all know I'm a Celtic fan, but I think it's outrageous that you've asked people to stump up for their season ticket and they're going to go to Hampden. And let's be honest, the view isn't going to be great.
Yeah, it's a very different state. And atmospheric wise, it is huge, especially if we're doing the European games, because we all know Hampden's a bit bigger and stuff
yeah,
like that.
It just doesn't keep the atmosphere in. And
it's also, I have to say, that I went to the Scotland Czech Republic game in the Euro 2021, and it's the coldest I've ever been. So imagine Hampden with 9,000 in it. And also, if you're a Scotland fan, you'll have been there when we played Portugal a few years ago, when there was 16,000 in there. It was brutal. We'll come back to this because we want to talk about our next story, because this is going to be a good one. I'm excited about this. We're going to be joined in the studio soon by Paul Beeson and Bush Strachan, who have written a couple of plays about Hearts in particular. There was one, I think it was a wartime one. We'll get a little bit more on that. One of our friends, Rachel Graham, was in. They've got a new one coming to the Edinburgh Festival this year. It's called This Is Our Story, and it's all about the Hearts kind of thing. We'll get more from the two of them when they come in, but what we wanted to know is what else should go in a play or a musical or on the stage about Hearts. Is there anything that you would like to see from Hearts be put on the stage from your time around Scottish football?
so, as a Celtic fan, you'd obviously want the Albert Kidd day,
So, yeah.
right? Because you would just, listen, I lived through Helicopter Sunday, so it's all right, do you know. But the other thing is, I remember when Romanov came in, and a Hearts fan got a full back tattoo of Romanov's face. And I was like, that would need to go in this story.
The whole Romanov era was just fascinating.
It's like that in was it Di Stefano at
Dundee. He was at Dundee, yeah.
I mean,
You also had Claude Anelka at Wraith Rovers, Nicholas Anelka's brother. He was there for a little bit as well. So in a 2-3 year period, we had some absolute box office.
Shifty.
Yeah, 100%. And for me, I think my Hearts bit on the stage I would like is just a one-man show. And it's the bit where Craig Levein, director of football, interviews Craig Levein, prospective manager, before he gives himself the manager's job.
Before we sink each other into a coma.
Before he just starts speaking and interviewing himself, because that must have happened at some point.
100%.
Him chatting into a mirror, something like that. There's also
was it Craig Levein, Alan Maybury fight?
I don't remember. I remember Craig Levein fought with Graham Hogg.
Oh, it might have been
Graham Hogg.
Yeah.
Alan Maybury is a lovely man, so I don't see that one coming. But
There was punches thrown on the pitch.
So anything like that. Also, we can go a little bit further in this, because there's going to be people listening to this show right now who might have been in a school play with a footballer, who might have done amateur dramatics with it. Richard Gordon of Sportsound, I remember him telling me one time he did like amateur dramatics in Fintry or something like that. So have you done anything on the stage with someone, the great and the good of Scottish football, along the way? Have you seen anyone like that? And it also could be even just when you see the former footballers doing after dinner speaking and things like that.
I've got a great story about that.
Go.
So I get invited to do it. In fact, Mr. Cosgrove was meant to be there, and he couldn't make it, and it was to do the Jane Field Swifts in Perth.
So that says technically his local team, isn't it?
Technically his local team, and Stuart was meant to be there and he couldn't be there, and they got is it Anna Siegel, the who was the Scotland women manager before Shelley Kerr. So she done a talk in women's football, and it was great. It was really, really good. And then it was me and Frank McAvenny. Right?
Oh, someone's not Googled this properly, have they?
And it was a room primarily, I would say 90% women football players, parents, coaches, and some of the dads were there. And I realised that McAvenny, a cultural hero of mine when I was growing up, had become a parody of himself. And he was very much like, that's some set of calves on that lady. And you're just like, oh no. That's
how he started.
That's how he started. And I was like, we just needed, Franco.
Give us way more of them. Footballers on the stage with car crash moments, anything like that. That is incredible.
He did do the George Best story. which is always a
thought he
classic.
might have.
It's always a classic. Maybe not for that audience.
No, so football on the stage, we're going to be joined by Paul Beeson and Bruce Strachan. They'll tell us a little bit more about their play. This is our story. And then our third topic is your teenage talent. And this there's a couple of stories that this is about. One is in the MLS, which is not a sentence we say an off the ball a lot. And the second one is our third guest, Liam Farrelly, brilliant Scottish stand-up, who I'm going to guess Liam started stand-up when he was 17, probably was the first time I'd have met him, 17, 18 at a push.
Aye, but I mean, he looked about 35 when he was 17. So it's all right.
The best thing is I know he's outside listening to this and he'll just be nodding. He will be.
Listen, he supported me at the Kings this year, so I can just
Oh,
slag him.
great.
That's all right.
Let's chat about that when he comes in. So Liam started doing stand-up. I think, me and Susie were trying to talk about this earlier, we think Liam might be the youngest person ever to do live at the Apollo. And with the exception of you, Susie, Liam and Larry Dean, maybe Fern.
Fern done it, yeah. Fern might have been the first.
You're the last Scots to do it before Frankie and Kevin Bridges, probably?
Yeah, I think
that's a huge gap. So it's a great achievement in itself, but being the youngest person ever in such a amazing show. And the other one is Cavan Sullivan in the MLS this week. I saw this story and I felt immediately so old because he made his debut for the Philadelphia Union age 14 years old in 293 days, becoming the youngest player in MLS history, beating the well-known name Freddie Adu to become the youngest player. And we wanted to know your teenage talent. Was there something that you could do when you were a teenager that it could be downing a bottle of something, it could be opening a bottle with something? Because let's be honest, that's a lot. What was yours?
My teenage talent?
Yeah.
Choir and bevy.
Were you able to...
Aye. Or like, I wouldn't go in for it because obviously I'm quite short and I'm very baby-faced, as you can see.
and humble.
And humble, really humble. But I had the chat and the kind of patter to persuade somebody to go in and get the bevy or the cigarettes or just the teenage stuff that teenagers don't do anymore because they go to the gym and they look after themselves.
Well, do you know what we've noticed? I still play amateur football, and we've noticed a huge drop off in young guys coming to play for our teams because a lot of them would rather just go to the gym. And I suppose not being just shouted at by a nutter from Inverclyde or whatever on a Saturday morning. It's just easier that way.
I think that kind of prepares you for life in a building site, so they probably should do it. Everyone should.
It's like a work experience. Going to play at Parkley playing fields.
Bit of resilience because the guy you're playing's wearing a tag around his ankle.
I had one recently. I was playing. When was this? Maybe 8-10 months ago, and I was playing against a guy, and the guy abused me solidly, like shouting at me every time I got the ball. He was calling me names, all this kind of stuff. The minute the full-time whistle, he came up to me. He's like, "I've seen you do stand-ups a few times. Big fan." Shook my hand and just walked away.
Right.
I was like, "No, you're not, mate. You clearly hate me.
This is
why
like
have you done this?"
When the first time I ever met Scott Brown, and Scott Brown was like just chatting away with the most gentle.
Did he have hair at the time? Because
No, proper skinhead, vein popping out, peak Rodgers first season, and he was just saying, "Oh, my kids have been up to stuff, and I was meant to be in charge of them. My wife's going to kill me," and I'm just looking at him with this really soft accent and these veins popping out his head, going, "Where is Scott Brown?"
Yeah.
But he was such a kind of really soft, gentle, good, fun guy. But that vision of him just standing in a tunnel looking straight ahead with that skinhead and those veins is, it's just indelibly marked in your kind of memory, isn't it?
I love that. We'll hear from Bruce and Paul and Liam about their teenage talent. Like Liam Farrelly starting stand-up, he got so many comparisons to Kevin Bridges at that age because I think they started at roughly the same time, didn't they?
Yeah, so there's a kind of similarity when Liam was younger. I think of kind of looking a bit like Kevin, like same kind of eye colouring and skin tone and hair and stuff like that. But obviously, he's grew into his face, the boy. He's grew into his
So they'll be joining us a bit. So we want to know your teenage talent. Did you ever play in the MLS age 15? I doubt it, but there might be some. There's also the footballers, the ones that came through. If you're a Celtic fan, it's your Islam Feruz, it's your Karamoko Dembele's, all them. For more recent times, we just sold Kieran Loney to Everton. There'll be those players that come through. I remember we had Adam Strachan, who's passed away now, but he was such an exciting young player who's from Maryhill, playing for the club, those kind of ones. So who, your teenage talent or a teenager that played for your club? And finally, it's the Scottish League Cup. As someone whose team is never in the Scottish League Cup in this round, do you care about these fixtures?
No.
No, see, I love it. Like, it's so good for me. I'm a bit gutted today because I was meant to be going to Edinburgh City. I now can't go because of a family thing, but it was one of my grounds to tick off of my 42 grounds to go. I've not got that many left. It was going to happen. And I like that kind of thing. I was presenting Sports Sound the last couple of weeks.
Mate, you go to the Fringe every year, just pop down one Saturday afternoon.
No, because I'd rather go see Thistle or something else. Like, it's that way. So Edinburgh City, we're playing them today. I love this stage of the cup, but I hosted Sports Sound last week and there was quite an anomaly in the first round of games. In the first round of games, there was 4 hat-tricks, which doesn't usually happen on Tuesday night. There was another 2 in the same game as Airdrie walloped East Kilbride 8-0. East Kilbride at home to Aberdeen today. I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating. I think we might get whoever's presenting Sports, I think it's David Curry, coming in to chat about that because the Aberdeen East Kilbride game today is going to be fascinating. I saw East Kilbride have just lost 8-0. And the story yesterday was Bojan Majowski is back in the Aberdeen team for today. And I was like, that's not what you want, is it? So we'll find out about that. But so the 6 hat-trick scores. So Dylan Venti scored 1 for Hibs. Alan Troughton scored 1, age 38 for East Fife. Curtis Main gets his for Dundee. Aidan Connolly, who I think Aidan Connolly, I interviewed him once. Wraith Rovers played Talbot, Auckland Talbot, and they beat them 3-0 and Aidan Connolly scored a hat-trick. And he was the happiest footballer I've ever interviewed because it was like his first hat-trick. And he'd put aftershave on for the interviews, which he said he doesn't. And I was like, what are you doing now? He's like, I'm going to go home and get a Chinese, but I'm buzzing. And he was just really happy and all that.
Can you imagine, right, if say Celtic put in a last day bid for Majowski, right, and he's then played East Kilbride and played in the Champions League in the one season? That's Scottish football in a nutshell.
No, what would happen is he would then sign for Celtic if that was to happen. They're talking about Genoa and Bologna looking at 6.5 million, so Celtic won't be bidding that.
No.
But if he did that, what the most Scottish football thing that would happen is Celtic would get to the final and he'd be cup tied and Kyogo would get injured and then they'd have no striker. That's what would happen.
Yeah, that's exactly. Then we would just bring on James Forrest.
Why did he not get a game for Scotland? It was so frustrating. So the hat-trick you won't forget, that's the topic we're going to go for, because the other 2 hat-trick scorers, Ben Wilson scored a hat-trick for Airdrie on his debut after just coming over from Cliftonville, and Lewis McGregor also in that game. If you get a chance, watch the Airdrie against East Kilbride highlights. Some of the defending is insane. So it's on I think Airdrie's Twitter thing. I don't think East Kilbride posts them, surprisingly, so have a look at that. But the hat trick you won't forget, for me, this is an easy one. There's 2. There's one. Chris Dillon scored 4 against Hamilton Accies that included a back heel. It was against Michael McGovern, who'd just played amazing in the Euros, and it was brilliant to watch. But that's not the best one I've seen. The best one I've seen is Alex Burns, Toasty. This is 2003 against Killie, where one of the goals was from the right hand side touchline just out. And I would say I watch this on YouTube 3 or 4 times a year.
Wow.
Because it's Gordon Marston goals as well. It's fun seeing him getting chipped. That's the one. If someone says hat trick, that's the one I think about. What, Susie, for you?
So, like, I could sit here and go, I mean, Henrik Larsson scored a few hat-tricks, blah, blah, blah. But actually, there's one that's really personal to our house. And you'll know this story because you've probably seen it in my Facebook. I think it was October 22, October 23, October 22. Celtic were playing Hibs at Celtic Park. The team sheet came out. I went bananas because James Forrest was on the team sheet. And I said to my then girlfriend, now wife, in the year of our Lord, why is James Forrest still playing? James Forrest went out that day, scored a hat-trick, but not only scored a hat-trick, I'm pretty sure he scored a perfect hat-trick that day, and also became the club's, joined the top 100 club for Celtic. And every time James Forrest comes on, like, I can be in the house watching football, my wife can walk in, she'll go, if I just heard the magic words, James Forrest on. And she calls him the GOAT, right? And every time he scores or he comes on for Celtic, even if I can be in quite literally another continent, and she will send me a wee gif of a wee goat just smiling.
Why does he get such disrespect for Celtic fans like you? Like,
no, it's not
for
even,
someone who's been there for so long and saved like the club so many times.
Disrespect as in against the guy or against the player. It was more about going, this guy shouldn't have to start a game for Celtic, right? There should be a player in front of James Forrest because James Forrest has done his bit. Bring him on as a sub, right? Bring him on as a sub. like, have him about the club, have him about the dressing room, have him about the training pitch, bring him on, let him play cup games, just keep him kind of, you
Like
know
a
what I mean?
goalie, like a second choice goalie.
Aye, but you know, like, you're in a long season, you're playing a lot of games, right? So he can't play every week, and I'm like, he shouldn't be starting. Give him half an hour.
In my head, he only plays the end of each season anyway. Because that seems to be what happens.
When he does play the end of each season, I mean, he quite literally won us the league.
Yeah.
Quite single-handedly, just was like, wait then, I'll put my cape on, lads.
And that was the thing that was so frustrating for me, because he didn't play for Scotland at the Euros.
No.
He was our oldest member of the squad. So he was 32, I think he is, and he was the oldest member of the squad. So it was just...
And he would have done a job at the Euros.
Yeah.
There was, you know, if you look at the last two games, you go, yeah, James Forrest could have done something there.
I love the way that you talk about him like he's Joe Biden. Like, I do like
He's
that
not
way.
Joe Biden.
He's
No.
got COVID. We're not sure if he's going to...
He's just going up to Brendan Rodgers going, thanks very much, Philippe.
Oh, so good. And finally, Susie, our team of the week. What are we going for?
Our team of the week, in light of the Open being at Royal Troon, with or without Harry Styles, our team of the week is golfers. So your footballing kind of golfy names. Give us a wee example, Ray.
So we've gone for the three ones I've come up with, by the way, are dreadful.
Terrible.
So you can do more. And something, I've said this so many times whenever I've hosted Off the Ball, the texts and emails we get in from listeners is so good, and Twitter replies. You'll do way better than these three. The three I've got are Chris Caddian. That's poor. I'll accept that. The manager is Graham Putter. He just got some getting linked with the England job. And my favourite one, Albatross Tokley. That is a very niche Scottish football reference. Ross Tokley, who I think played for Nairn County last year at the age of 44, and I'm sure he got sent off when the game the highlights I watched.
Still hope for you, mate. Still hope for that dream.
I'm still hoping. Lowland League is where I'll take now. I don't mind. I'll get a wee Scottish Cup run. I'm happy with that. My back hurts when I stand up now, Susie. That thing.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, so that's our topic. So you're tuned to Off the Ball. I'll go through them quickly. I heard a rumour, so all about the football stuff. Football rumours. What's a good rumour you've heard? Is it Harry Styles at Troon, music gigs, actors are somewhere and you've maybe bumped into them, anything like that? I've heard a rumour. Football on the stage, we're going to be joined by Paul Beeson and Bruce Strachan to chat about their new play at the Edinburgh Festival, All About Hearts. Your teenage talent based on brilliant stand-up comedian we got coming in, Liam Farrelly, but also Kevin Sullivan making his debut at 14 in the MLS. I hate to think, but I was doing it at 14. And the hat-trick you won't forget. In the week that we had 6 hat-tricks in the Scottish League Cup, 4 of which were on one day and the other 2 were in the same game. What's a hat-trick that stands out for you that you won't forget? And the team of the week is the Golf 11. You can text us to get in touch for anything we've spoke about today. You can text us on 80295. For email, you can email offtheball@bbc.co.uk, and you can always get us on Twitter at offtheballbbc or X if you want to call it that, but I'm not going to be calling that. So, you've heard me and Susie talk, standing in for Stuart and Tam today, but it's time to get our guests in. So let's welcome our guests in. We've got Paul Beeson, Bruce Strachan and Liam Farrelly. You could almost hear radios being switched off in the Leith area there. That was incredible. I didn't know we were playing that in. Obviously, we're joined by Paul Beeson and Bruce Strachan, who've written a... Is this your second or third Hearts play? What are we talking, Paul?
It's actually our fourth.
Fourth, right. Talk us through the chronology of it then.
All right, so our first show was called A War of Two Halves, and that was about the players who volunteered to be part of McRae's battalion in the First World War, and we did a sort of promenade performance. We took the audience around Tynecastle, so the show was actually happening where the players were doing their stuff in 1914.
And I'm going to stop with that. Let's get a bit of context there before we do that. So both Hearts fans, or is one of you just a war history veteran? Like, what is happening?
No, both Hearts fans, yeah.
Yeah, and how do you know each other?
Well, I actually employed Paul.
Oh, someone's got the money. Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
I was working for another company.
Man,
so how did you employ him? In what way?
So I was actually working for a company in Huddersfield at the time, and we came up to recruit actors in Scotland to work for tours that were in Scotland, and Paul came to audition. So that's how I met him and found out we're both Hearts fans. And
both jammers, it goes that way.
Aye.
Okay, cool. I just wanted that. And the other thing I was going to ask was, for if you're talking about wartime, how many, so I presume that's the First World War?
Yes.
How many Hearts players end up going to serve in that battalion?
It was 13.
I think it was ended up 16. So it was
16.
13 initially, and then a few more. Yeah.
And was that kind of, I don't know if you've looked across Scottish football, was that a lot for a club, or was that kind of the standard?
It was, Hearts were the first team that had players who did volunteer. Shortly after that, players from Hibs and Dunfermline, East.
I love
Fife,
it. He's got to get in there. They got in there first, even for that.
No. But it's but all of those teams. I think there was actually 75 Scottish teams that had players volunteering. Like a lot of those teams aren't in existence anymore. But George McRae, who was starting the battalion at that time, used Hearts players as a bit of a recruiting tool, because Hearts were top of the league and they were flying in Scottish football at that time. So using the players from the best team helped encourage the fans of those teams to also volunteer, and then other teams started to do the same and other fans started to do the same, and before you knew it, there was a battalion that had 800 odd men in it, literally a few days after the Hearts players volunteered.
And you were the poster boys? Hearts were the poster boys to kind of recruit. Okay. And
isn't that amazing though, that that's still a thing today, isn't it? You know, like if Mbappe came out about kind of French politics during the Euros, and if football players do that, and it's so important that that's such a thing, because they're hero worshipped. Whether we want to moan about sponsorship deals and all that, now ultimately there's still kids in their room with posters of football players.
Absolutely.
And they're still massively influenced. And I think that's a really fascinating kind of look back into a time that none of us can relate to, but it's still very much a modern day thing, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
yeah. And that thing has never gone away.
Yeah.
That idolisation of footballers.
I think that was what was interesting about Gareth Southgate stepping down, because Gareth Southgate, for whatever you want, I mean, I really enjoyed last Sunday night's game, but
Can I just say, I've never heard the words interesting in Gareth Southgate in a sentence.
Did you read his Players Tribune article? So 2021, the Players Tribune, they give the chance for people to write stories. So Raheem Sterling wrote one about gun violence around his family and stuff like that. And it's all, Lukaku wrote about being an immigrant family in Belgium and all this kind of stuff. And Southgate's one was all about how he is in charge of these players, but he's never going to tell them to take their cues on social issue. He should listen to young black players about their issues rather than that. And it was fascinating. And that's the thing about Southgate, like, he didn't do that good a job towards the end, but he's still England's second most successful manager. But he got his point across, and he was so articulate about it. And we're joined also by Liam Farrelly. So Liam, how are you?
Aye, no bad, how are you?
It's just, I saw Liam last night, so it's like, I don't know why I asked him, how are you? Yeah. Liam, you are a St Mirren fan.
Aye.
How excited are you about the European trip this week?
Really excited. It's one of those ones I was really worried I was going to miss it, because I'm doing the Fringe, so I wasn't sure like when the away leg and the home leg would fall. So I was worried I was going to miss it, because I was like, this might never happen again, basically.
Yeah, so you are, what, you 24 now?
Aye, 24.
So 24. So last time St Mirren played in Europe is the late 80s?
Aye, I think it's like 36 or 38 years
Right,
ago.
okay. So yeah, so 88, so 86 or 88 we're going to guess.
Not that long ago. I just want to put it out there. Not that long ago.
That
Just-
seems a long time. 36 years without European competition. Like, as I spoke to Dev from Pine Bovril, who's a big St Mirren fan, he's going out to the game.
Oh, right.
Are you going?
No, it's only like 80 tickets or something, isn't it, mental? That's why I was hoping the Albanians were going to win. Cause
So yeah, it was Valor from Iceland against, I can't remember the Albanians team name, and Valor won quite comfortably. Valor have Gylfi Sigurdsson in their team, a few Icelandic internationals, all that. But 80 tickets available in a 2,000-seater stadium, something like that. I think it's about 5% again.
I think they're not expected to bring a lot to our home game, because I think we've started giving tickets away to like St Mirren fans for the away stand, basically.
How do you feel about going to that home game? Are you excited?
I'm excited. I mean, I'm worried, because I'm like, St Mirren, like, there's a chance we could get humped 4-0 here. Like,
It's going to be so exciting. We'll chat about there. I saw your brand new signing, Jakavite, came off after 3 minutes last night.
Aye, that's brilliant. That.
Ran on as a sub, pulled his hammy and walked straight back off. So it's always what you want. And you've got two Hearts fans in here, Paul and Bruce. How do you feel about European escapades? Because obviously, guaranteed European football last year. Looks like the same again this year. Has that just become the norm for you guys, Bruce?
I wouldn't say the norm.
I bear in mind you did get relegated within the last 5 years.
Well,
So that's a fair
a way
point.
to say you're a Hearts fan, you're never too confident for too long, are you? There's always something coming around the corner. But I think hopefully we've learned a bit from last year, I would hope. And, it was definitely been a sort of upward trajectory. So I'm hoping that, we sort of, learn from that, maybe move forward.
I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if you know. Is Stevie Naismith allowed to manage in these games this year?
Oh, I actually don't know if...
No, I think he was going through his coaching last
that-
year.
Had to
That's
start,
how.
I think, yeah.
So I think the reason he couldn't do it is because he was doing the coaching qualification for the European games. So I'm pretty sure he's completed that.
Because you had that absolute sham of having a manager in place or a coach and all that. And did it affect the fans at all? No.
The only fans it affected were people who didn't support Hearts, I think. Everybody
Which is
else was
always the
kicking
way,
off
isn't
about
it?
it.
That's football, isn't it?
Totally.
I mean, I do laugh. Celtic said that for years with Peter Lawwell, so I mean,
It's a very fair point. And then, so you did the wartime play, and then Bruce, what was the next? You said this before. So what's the other one's been about? Always Hearts.
Well, actually, the second one was not directly Hearts related, but it was in the same period. So we made a play about Hearts established their women's team sort of professionally a couple of years ago. So we made a play called Sweet FA, which was all about women's football and the development and growth of women's football.
Over what era?
Well, same period as the First World War, because there was an anniversary a couple of years ago of when the FAs banned women's football, and during the First World War, it became more popular than the men's game. There were crowds of 50,000, and down south they got more for this women's game at one point than the men's FA Cup final got. So it became a huge deal, and then the authorities got together and decided to ban it, and it was banned for 50 years.
that's a true. The girl whose
Rose Riley?
No, whose number I've got on my phone, Emma. Her mum basically went and played in World Cup in '72 and came back and was banned from playing football by the English FA. Listen, I remember
Wild.
being a rugby ball girl at the Rugby World Cup in Edinburgh, which was in Edinburgh in 1992, and it wasn't recognised by any federation, any rugby federation in the world, and it was all international teams. It was the Rugby World Cup. It was an extraordinary experience for me to get out of school, result, and to be a ball girl. When you were meeting guys like Gavin Hastings and Scott Hastings and Gary Armstrong and like these absolute legends of the game, and standing next to you and talking to you, and you go, this is such a positive thing. But the high Hegians were just like, no, we're not having that.
Yeah, because it was an amateur game at the time. And then what was the third play?
So last year in the Fringe we did a show about Bobby Walker, who was one of Hearts' greatest players, but he played in the late 1800s, and he retired the season before the war started in 1914. So he's one of those players that's always very well spoken of, but we didn't know too much about him. So we thought that'd be a really interesting sort of nugget of history to delve into. It turns out he was one of the best players in Europe at the time, and he played his entire career at Hearts.
Are you worried you're going to run out of First World War themes at any point? Or is this one a First World War one as well?
No, we've moved on. We've got past
Second World War. Is that what you're in at?
1915. I think we've covered it pretty extensively.
So what's this one?
So instead of just doing that little short period, we thought we'd do it all. So we've tried to do 150 years of Hearts in 90 minutes. Is this year's challenge?
And Liam Farley joined us, St Mirren fan. You've got Hearts and St Mirren have a beef together, don't they?
Aye, it's sort of do with the Saint lie down kind of patter, which it was your fault anyway, because you had to beat Dundee and you couldn't manage it. So,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
This is so tense.
Yeah. So, because it always has been a thing, and then we were talking last night about
they
the
relegated you. I think that was that the last game in Scottish football?
Yes, it was. Yeah, COVID
Aye.
just before the lockdown. Yeah.
John Obika running through from like a ball for, was it Ross Wallace, who I think hadn't played football in about a year, and just lumped a ball and he just ran through and he scored, and then that was it. It was relegated.
And was that 11th v 12th at the time?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was, we were really close. I remember like it was a big game for us.
Yeah.
Because as I'm a Thistle fan, we were in the same boat where we get relegated. We had a game in hand.
That's right,
So it was
yeah.
points per game and stuff like that. I'd kind of forgot about all that. And do you remember there was some people with some really embarrassing flags of Hearts, Thistle and Stranraer, the three clubs relegated, how like bonding us together and all that. It was uncomfortable, wasn't it?
I tell you, it's not often as a supporter of one of Glasgow's big two teams you can sit in a room and go, nobody's got a beef with me right now. They are all going to like
You
tear
sold us.
lumps out each other.
See the amount of dud loan players you've sent us over the year. We wouldn't be surprised. And Hearts, I'm looking at you too. Harry Stone came and he didn't do the best. And we've just had Liam Nielsen actually, who was excellent for us at the first half of the season. Moved down to sit in mid. Were either of you at the game on Wednesday night?
We weren't on Wednesday, were we? We were at the friendly with Leyton Orient at the weekend, but we were.
Don't go to see the big teams. Go to see Spurs. Did you win at the weekend?
No.
No.
No, did you not? Against Leyton Orient? What was the score?
It was 2-1 to Leyton.
Oh, it's one of those.
But first pre-season, I'm not
Do you
bothered.
read into pre-season? Me and Tam were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Do you read into it?
Nah.
Last season we lost to Mansfield Town at home 3-1 in a friendly at Tynecastle.
And you can see that
All
next
right.
season at the Fringe. Opening 90
Ballad
minutes
of Mansfield Town.
So is it because with Celtic, you over in America just now?
I go to the White House, try to
Someone
see.
said this. Is that? I thought they were banned up.
I know. They apparently they were invited to the White House to do a private tour. I would much rather they just trained and played football. But you know, if Brendan, he'll probably put himself forward for the presidency. He believes in himself.
I saw him being linked with the England job this week.
Oh,
One of the names I saw linked by a legitimate sporting newspaper, I think you would say.
yeah, I think I don't see that happening for a few
Yeah.
reasons. I
Do you
don't
think
see that.
Celtic could have maybe signed Adam Ida if they didn't have to pay for an ESTA for every player?
Aye,
like save the money that way.
Aye, that'll be it. That honestly, Lowell will be trying to claim that back. You watch. he'll be charging the players for the rest. When Neil McGuff has came in and he said he would like to see, and I thought this was brilliant, the near merger with Hibs, spearheaded by Wallace Mercer. Now I remember this. I remember Wallace Mercer and that kind of period for Hearts as well. And would you cover that?
It's in the show.
Oh, is it?
Listen, we're trying to do 150 years of history, so we're talking about all the controversial stuff, the good times and the bad times. Like you can't tell the history of any football club and just focus on all the good times. Especially as Hearts fans, the show would last about 10 minutes.
Just be the 5-1 game. That'd be it. Do you write together?
I kind of take the lion's share of the writing initially, but then Bruce will sort of take over and shape it. He's got a better kind of overall view than me. I get bogged down in the dialogue and the facts and the stats, and
So-
he makes it more dramatic.
Bruce, here's a question where I think lots of people listening to this show will be asking. You're doing a 90-minute show about 150 years of Hearts. How many minutes to Vladimir Romanov?
Oh, I mean, not till the second half, I think.
About 10
So
minutes?
yeah, it's probably 10 minutes.
Only
to the
10?
Second half.
And what Romanov stuff do we cover? Him having a fight with Roman Bednar in a pre-season?
That's there.
That's in it? Yeah, it's got to be.
That's a classic.
You can still watch it on YouTube. It's still there. The
Your
fact-
YouTube history is weird, man.
It's so much old football stuff. And weirdly, I got TikToked on that long ago, and my TikTok videos are all, if we're talking about rumours, a player that nearly came to St Mirren.
Oh,
Ronaldinho. That's all my TikTok. Ronaldinho clips of him trimming it. Because you would have been a baby when this happened.
I have no memory. I remember my granddad was telling me about it, and he was like, it was when that Pepsi advert he was in was out.
So he was at Gremio and he was about to sign for PSG.
Yeah.
And I remember I was a paper boy at the time, so I used to read it every day. And he was at Gremio, he was coming to PSG, and they wanted to bed him in at a European club.
Yeah.
He'd signed for £22 million. And this is 2001, 2002. And St Mirren was the chosen club, supposedly.
Yeah, and it was, we couldn't get his visa or something over the line.
It was a work permit issue. Yeah.
Aye, but I remember because my that Pepsi advert he was in, and my granddad pointed at the TV and he was like, "See, he almost signed for St Mirren," and that's when I was like, "Oh, I think my granddad's losing it."
It's an incredible story, isn't it?
So, the other one that was mental was, do you remember when we got promoted with Jack Ross and then he immediately left to Sunderland? We were linked with Patrick Vieira as the manager No, it was Patrick Kluivert as the manager. And then Guti from Real Madrid as well. And I remember there was a white Lamborghini driving through Paisley when that rumour came out. And I remember seeing it and being convinced we were getting Guti.
And who did you end up as a manager?
Alan Stubbs.
Scott Hunter from Dunfermline's came in. He goes, rumours when Dunfermline were going through their mental stage under John Yorkston, we were rumoured to be signing Taribo West and Diego Maradona Jr.
Taribo West was the biggest champ man free signing
Aye.
0102, so it's probably about that. Imagine Diego Maradona doing an advert for what's the bakery in Dunfermline? Oh, if you
Stevens, is it?
Stevens Bakery, doing that, munching a pie. Oh, it'd be so good. Let us know your other rumours. Text us on 80295. Email offtheball@bbc.co.uk. Lads, Hearts rumours. What good rumours about Hearts have you heard over the years, Bruce?
Well, I think when we were talking about it before, the first one that came to mind was Ruud Gullit as manager. That came up.
So what? Right. So what's good about Liam and St Mirren is Liam, when he said about Jack Ross leaving, rumours about Patrick Kluivert and stuff like that. Hearts have been a bit basket case over the years. So Ruud Gullit coming, I can think of about a 15-year span. So can you narrow it down? When was it?
I think it was right at the start of Romanov stuff, wasn't it? I think it might have been pre-Burley. I mean, we're linked with quite a few folks. So Neville Scala from Parma and
Bobby Robson.
Yeah, he was.
I remember the Bobby Robson one. Yeah.
The Burley is really interesting because I remember we were playing and I was going to the game. I still had my season ticket. Hearts that week, and Hearts were top of the league.
Yeah.
And Celtic had to beat Hearts at home. Scott and Peltzer's taking offence at me telling the people what team I support, but I was doing it for clarity, Scott, so just you relax. I've still said it less than Stuart says St Johnstone and Tam says Motherwell.
Yeah, cup double.
So
We've not
just-
mentioned either of the cups there.
Aye,
That's
so
good.
relax.
What-
But the Burley thing was really interesting because he went. I don't think he was manager for that game. I think he went on like the Thursday or the Friday, and I remember thinking, that's massive because and the game was like October.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
It was
like
nine games in, wasn't it?
Aye, it wasn't
9,
like a
yeah.
league decider, but you knew it was a massive moment in the season because you knew that dressing room was going to be deflated.
Can you give context? Because sometimes the beautiful thing about Off the Ball is some people listen aren't huge football fans or they just kind of like it, whatever. So the Hearts 3 it was, wasn't it? Talk us through that then. What happened?
Oh,
You're the Rickerton 3.
The Rickerton 3, that was it. Thank you. Paul.
Oh, so
Who
you
was
had Paul Hartley, Craig Gordon, and
Was it Webster or Presley?
Stephen Presley.
Stephen Presley.
Presley.
That's right.
yeah.
And things were so bizarre at Hearts at the time. They actually held a little press conference, didn't they? And sort of tried to.
Did they call it themselves?
I think they did. Yeah. I think they
Just-
they
they were
Yeah,
trying to-
man.
to try and make change, to try and turn it around because we were still doing quite well in the season. They wanted to
Yeah,
stop
top
it.
league, I think, unbeaten as well.
We started the season, we won 8 games in a row.
Yeah,
didn't we,
yeah.
at the start of the season?
You
I think
hadn't dropped a point.
Yeah, by the end of the first quarter of the season, the only game we'd lost was we'd lost to Livy in the League Cup.
Yeah.
But we'd beaten Rangers, we drew with Celtic, and we'd done really, really well. And then suddenly your manager's away.
And remind me, did they call that press conference to get rid of Romanov?
I think it was more like an appeal for it to calm down kind of behind the scenes, so they could
If
get
it was
on.
nowadays, they would do a GoFundMe. It's that kind of vibe, innit? It's
Buy me a
changed.
coffee.
Yeah, go Fifi.
Go Fifi.
It's madness. Liam's Heart. Sorry, St Mirren never done anything wild like that.
No, it would have been very sensible, to be fair. I think the maddest thing was when Alan Stubbs came in. He'd been at the Jamie Vardy Academy and he signed 4 players out of it. And I think 3 of them were gone by January, and we spent 75 grand on one of them.
Oh, did the other one? Did he play many games, or was it?
It was Cody Cook. He scored.
I remember, yeah.
He scored the worst hat trick I have ever seen.
Well, we could come on to that later for hat tricks. What was so bad about that hat trick then?
Every single shot was hit directly at the goalkeeper, and he just let it like straight through him. It was like ridiculous.
Just through his legs? Or?
Aye, through his legs, through his hands, like every single time, middle of the goal, just straight through. It was Jack Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
Just straight through him.
I don't know. Did you see the Rangers Ajax highlights this week? Did anyone see it? The first half, Jack Butland's in goals, and he has 2 stinkers like stinkers. And Liam Kelly comes on, he's got a great second half, and all the comments are Ajax fans talking about how bad Butland is. And it's like, he was player of the year last year, he's really good, but it's just that one thing as a goalie. But yeah, one of them a free kick in particular.
JC
is pretty
Boy
bad.
got in touch about that because he said that Ray McKinnon once scored 3 free kicks at Rugby Park, and goalie Cammy Bell saved 3 penalties at East End Park
I remember the Cammy Bell game.
for Dundee United.
Yeah, I remember the Cammy Bell thing, and because there was also one, did Barry Ferguson not miss 3 penalties in a game? Or was it 2? Barry Ferguson, it let me know what I'm
I
thinking
really
of. Barry
don't
Ferguson
want to talk about the quantity of penalties in one game.
yeah, missed for Rangers 2 or 3 penalties a game. Text us on 80295, email offtheball@bbc.co.uk. I think it was on BBC Live on telly. I feel I remember watching this game in the noughties, but I couldn't place a finger on it. But Ray McKinnon, a hat trick of free kicks. You have to call him you have to make the kind of snake noise because certain fans listening to this will be doing that right now. That's the rules.
Paul Hartley for Hearts.
That was the hat trick I was going to mention.
So what was that? I don't remember it.
That was
Cup
the
final?
Scottish Cup semi-final against Hibs in 2006.
Before you played Gretna?
Yeah.
I don't remember this at all.
Aye, he scored an absolute brammer of a free kick. There it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
By
it.
the way,
He's got
that
that
was
image.
an exact like image that's in front of me.
Similar haircut as well, by the way.
Also, same colour of top. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. But he scored the free kick. Was the free kick the first? I think the free kick was the first goal Hartley scored, and it was an absolute screamer. It was that was a. Eric Black, Andy McPherson's come in and said Eric Black, it's against Celtic at Celtic Park. Colin Samuel against the Jambos in the Scottish Cup, Craig Gordon's debut.
Yeah, do you remember this? He was at Falkirk, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you either of you there? Do you remember
I
this?
wasn't at that one.
I was following it. I remember
This was Ian
hearing it.
McCall's Falkirk, and he recruited quite well, and Colin Samuel came in, scored a hat-trick, and then Colin Samuel signed for someone, and then they couldn't get him a work permit, so he couldn't play. Did he go to Dundee United? And then he couldn't play for the first few months, and then this was about the time when Scottish football realised you could get players from Central America, and we had Jason Scotland, Brett Sancho, so many players come, Ulysses De La Cruz, which is South American at Hibs, like so many of those players in a short amount of time.
There's this is my favourite hat trick, and it's Bobby F. Pollock who's went memorable hat trick 1968, age 12. 50 pitches Cardonald for the 34th BB. I scored my one and only ever hat trick, and I couldn't wait to go home and tell my mum, and I told my mum, the reply was, did you remember to get the milk? Tell me you're Scottish without telling me you're Scottish.
I think I've scored 11 aside. I think I've scored one hat trick, and it was against, I think they were called Auchinfoyle, and it was about 2007, 2008. And I scored a hat trick of set pieces. I scored a hat trick. So it was a free kick, a penalty, and a corner. And we went to the pub after, won 3-2. Second game of the season, we won. And do you know what way? We won 3-2. My mates, I bring it up every football night out we go on, and I'll be getting texts about bringing this up. Everyone was congratulating me after the game. We go to the pub. We sit down, I start talking about the hat trick again. They go, free kick took a deflection. I was like, no, it didn't. And I did take a deflection. It was like that corner. I think that was wind assisted, and just ripped it all to it. Keeper went early for the penalty and just took all the glory away from him. My only ever hat trick.
It's the most Scottish thing in the world, isn't it? Isn't it?
Have you ever scored? Do you ever play amateur, Liam?
I tried to. Right, so what I played for a team in Renfrew that was called Cherry FC, and they were bottom of the bottom league, so we couldn't go anywhere. And do you remember? Do you remember when you were younger and you'd be going out with someone and then you'd want to break up with them, but you didn't want to be the one to do it, so you'd get a mate to do it? My football coach done that to me.
Amazing.
So I hadn't got a game and I'd been going to training, right? And I thought it was going well. It obviously wasn't, because then I went into school like the next day. There's like a big group of guys, like somebody's got to tell him here, and they were like, "Aye, so we've got a text off of Scott last night, and he says that you're never getting a game, you're too bad, and you shouldn't come back."
So this is, how old are you at this point?
I would have been 13.
Wow, that's
Aye.
very much the Kyle Walker school of
Aye.
delivering
So that was
messages,
brutal
isn't
as
it?
well. And then what ended up happening was I didn't want to go home and tell my mum and dad what happened. So then, you know how like when a guy loses his job but he doesn't want to tell his wife, I went on the 101 bus and sat on it for 2 hours, just going round and round, and I went home. I was like, how was the
But
game?
how long did that, you pretended you were part of a football team for?
A month. of
No.
just on the 101 bus on the circle line, just going round and round.
Liam, that is incredible. There was something beautiful that happened. Listeners, you wouldn't have been aware of this. So Liam Farley there was telling us a story about how he got a football coach who got one of his mates to chuck him out the team when he was 13. And at the same time as you were telling this, David Curry, who's hosting Sports Sound today, walked in. And we thought it was your football coach, like surprise reveal. Like, what is that? You can see you guys turn around, like, what is happening?
I see that guy in Braehead all the time, and I find it really hard not to say something to
Have
him.
you never confronted him?
Never.
Would you like to say his name on here?
Scott Leonard.
Okay.
You know who you are.
And you know what you did. There you go. David Curry, how are we?
Great.
You-
I can't just walked into the studio. I've never seen it so busy.
I know, it's nice. It's a wee school day out. Sports Sound today, what we
Sports
got?
Sound today, we have 2 live commentaries from the Premier Sports Cup. I know you're heavily involved in that in midweek.
I've done it. I don't need to
You've
learn
done it. You
anything
don't need
more.
to
I've done my 2 shifts. I'm good.
Yeah, so we have live commentary. First game is Ross County against Wraith Rovers. A kind of rematch of
You
the...
had that 2 months ago, David.
I know,
Come on.
I know. Well, it might be different this time.
Yeah,
That was
different
end
players.
of season. This is right at the
No
start.
Simon Murray this time.
No Simon Murray. No Jan Danda. But it's kind of weird when you hear managers, some of them saying we're still in pre-season.
Yeah, that annoys me. That annoys me because they've known about this cup for 8 years. So,
Well, I was going to use that as an excuse in advance for my poor performance today because I'm still in pre-season.
Exactly. Me too.
know?
Me too. I still need to get my stretches done.
So we've got that game at 3 o'clock, and then we're heading to Tannadice at 5:15 for Dundee United against Ayr United.
That'll be quite tasty.
Jim
That'll be a good
Goodwin
game.
against Scott Brown. Looking forward to that. Big changes at Ayr United in the summer. And United, obviously, Dundee United being promoted.
and losing against
The
Falkirk
Premier-
last week as well.
Losing against Falkirk, so that's an interesting one. We'll be dipping in and out of the Open Championship at Troon as well.
Are you a golf fan, Dave?
The last time I played,
That's a no. Let's be honest.
yes, no,
If you do
I'm,
four
I'm-
sides-
I used to love all the stats of it and all that, and I used to love going down to the Scottish Open and the Open to work. Not been for a few years, but
It's amazing how.
not follow. I don't follow it religiously.
So you get less interest when your work jolly stops.
I'm interested.
Is that what happened?
I'm interested in Bob McIntyre and the whole
Yes.
narrative of that. So that's
Me and
interesting.
Stuart have spoken about Bob McIntyre a lot in this show, and I think a big part of endearment is he's not central belt. He still goes home and plays shinty. When he won a big tournament in America, Stuart was telling me that I know Brian McLaughlin was telling me this last week, that instead of going to do the press conference and stuff like that, he just went home and out with his mates. Like, he just seems normal. And
You're
that's
talking about
huge.
Brian McLaughlin there.
Probably as well. We can't rule that out.
Listen, you have to scrape Brian McLaughlin out of a press conference.
Have you got a favourite football rumour, David?
I can remember back.
You must have reported on some of them over the years.
We don't report on rumours. Facts only. Well, no, I don't want to get myself in trouble by talking about rumours. But I suppose that the big one in the 70s was that, because I'm from Loch Lomond, and it was Johan Cruyff was going to sign for Dumbarton.
Was that a
It was in the
rumour?
papers, $2,000 a week he was supposed to be getting.
Get that. I've never heard that before. That is
It was
phenomenal.
in the Lennox Herald.
Well,
It must have been true.
once it hits there.
When you say the Lennox Herald, was that just a guy shouting with a...
Was it that long ago?
And David, of the time covering sports, the teenage talent, like as someone that stood out as a teenager coming through and playing, is there anyone in your mind?
Well, it's got to be Ryan Gold, isn't it? Ryan Gold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw I went to lots of, what year was it? 2003, 2004. Me and my mates went to lots of like pre-season friendlies because we was at school holidays, and we went to Queen's Park and we saw Queen's Park against Everton, and Wayne Rooney was 16, scored a hat-trick.
Wow.
And it was like, who is that 24-year-old boy running about there? He was
No,
phenomenal.
I have to put a shout in for John McGinn as well, probably because his brother Stephen's on the show today as
Is
well.
he?
But got a wee picture on my phone, and it's of John McGinn, Stephen Thompson, David Van Zandt, and my kids with the League Cup. John
okay.
McGinn is just a whippersnapper.
Was there any javelins in sight, or would they put away for that?
Oh,
That's two of them,
I know
isn't
that
it? That's what
story.
happened. And then David Van Zanten is also the loveliest man in the world, isn't he?
Yeah.
An absolute
So I've got
dreamboat.
a nice wee picture of that. So
And
John
let's,
McGinn.
let's go through the other ones. Football on stage. You ever seen a footballer in a play? You ever been in a play with a footballer? Anything like that?
Short and sweet, no.
No. And finally,
Can't think of anything like that. I'm sure I've done pieces on things like maybe the Celtic story.
Yeah.
And, hold now. My memory has been jogged. You'll know this one. Jackie McNamara. Jackie McNamara did a pilot for a sitcom.
Yes, he did.
I've actually seen it.
What's it like? This
It
is
was good.
2010, 11, 12,
And
something
I
like that.
can't remember the name of it. It was like The Quiet Room or something like that, and it was based on his experiences.
Completely forgot
Ryan,
that. Yeah,
absolutely.
it was just as he was at Thistle.
It's great, isn't
I
it?
had
How we
that-
always embrace new talent coming through. Young, new, exciting talent coming
I've
through.
just
It
been
had
told it
some
was called
big-
the therapy
The
room.
Therapy Room, but it had like, is it Gary Lewis, the actor?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
He was in it. You know, I thought it had legs, but it didn't. What do I know? But it didn't come to anything.